Welcome to the Budget Mom YouTube channel. I'm Kamiko Love from thebudgetmom.com, and today I'm back with another real life budget. For this real life budget, the person that we are going to be talking about wants to remain anonymous, so we are using and calling her T. That's what she would like to be called for this video. Another thing that we're doing differently for this real life budget is I'm not going to be putting T's information inside the budget calendar or the Budget by Paycheck workbook or in the Budget by Paycheck method. T and her husband have a very different situation that we haven't covered before in a real life budget. For a really long time, they have lived under the lie that they make really good money, therefore they can spend on anything that they want to, living outside of what they make, outside of their means, which has caused some drastic financial troubles for them. So in today's video, I'm going to walk through my initial thoughts, first and foremost. And then we're going to talk about one of the biggest recommendations that I want to make for this couple that may seem drastic, but it's necessary. We'll be going over my green light, red light test, and I'll get into that further in this video. Really what I want to talk about and show in this video is the initial steps on how to work through change and lifestyle change in your budgets and in your finances. The things that are kind of red flags that stick up for you along your journey where you're going to have to decide on how you want to move forward. And going over, I think, which is the most critical first important step anytime you are working with your finances for the first time. So this is information about T and her husband. They currently live in Plains, New York. Her why is her children. She wants to show them there should not be any stress or worry when it comes to money and managing your finances. I want to be a good example for them, especially when it concerns finances. I have a 3-year-old and 19-year-old. I would work on this why. First, it's a first observation I make because there is stress and worry behind finances and financial management. The way I approach this with my son is, and my son is also my why, is that I want to show him not only the good times, but also the bad times. I want to show him how to work through the times that are hard, that are stressful, so he can learn the skills to deal with those problems in his own life as he grows up. But I also share with him the rewards of being good with money, learning how to manage your money properly. So it's not that we don't ever want our children to see stressful or worrisome times with our finances. It's we want to give them the skills on how to deal with that in their own lives as they grow up, as they become adults, as they face those things head on for themselves. What is your personal story? So this is a little bit more about their personal story. Although my husband and I make great salaries, we have a lot of debt. I'm a program manager and my husband is an HR manager. I primarily handle the finances, and my husband and I have different mindsets when it comes to our budget. He believes that there will always be some kind of debt, so why stress about it? While I stress that these changes are temporary, but some sort of change needs to happen. I recently refinanced my student loan and car note to lower the monthly payments. My credit has recently taken a major hit due to the increased debt balances. My husband's student loan payments will begin when the extension is over. I don't want our children to see us working hard and making good money, but constantly being in debt. I want to be able to show my husband that reaching our financial goals are possible and have him on board with me. I think those are all great motivators for wanting to improve your financial situation. So currently right now they make $10,908 every single month. They're both paid semi-monthly and bi-weekly. So the husband's pay is on the 10th and 24th. Wife is paid the 15th and the 30th. Now down here, before we get down to my notes down here, let's look at their expenses. Let's look at their fixed expenses first. This is all their fixed expenses. It came without all my highlighters. So they have some pretty high expenses. A personal loan, minimum payment of $668, car insurance, car insurance and car payments on 2 vehicles, 1 car insurance bill. The wife has 1 life insurance policy. The husband has 2 life insurance policies. Gym, cable, internet, landline for $276. Mortgage. Here is the funny thing about their mortgage. They currently live in a condo. Their mortgage on their condo is $619, but they have co-op maintenance and parking for $1,703 a month, bringing their actual true housing expense for mortgage way up to over $3,000. They're investing $100 for the 529. They have minimum credit card payments, pet insurance. Even with a $3,000 mortgage on a condo, they're paying $237 for storage every month. And we'll get back to all this. Gas and electricity, Chewy for their dog. Toddler daycare is $19.60 a month. Preschool daycare is $15.90 a month. And we'll come back to this too. Here's the husband's other life insurance. They pay $160 a month for a house cleaner. And then there's that other car payment a month for $630. If you add up their fixed and bill expenses, it comes out to $11,821. Let's go over the red light, green light test. The red light, green light test is taking their income, which is currently at $10,908, minus expenses. Now, they do have variable expenses as well, which we can see here. But I'm not talking about variable expenses. I'm talking about the necessity, things they have to pay to live, which comes from their fixed and bill expense list. The red light, green light test is this: taking your income minus your expenses. If it's a negative, you're in the red. Red light means stop. If you take your income minus your expenses and you're green, you're positive, it's a green light, means go. Green light meaning you're good to go to move forward in your financial process. So that's just using their fixed expenses, but some variable expenses they do need. So we added in their variable expenses. I put a question mark next to laundry because I'm like, do they not have laundry in their condo? So they don't. They have to go to a laundromat every month. We'll talk about this question mark here in a minute. Gas, eating out, toiletries, parking toll, which is for work. This is not for their house, but for work. Household, Amazon, and groceries. So their variables are at $1,545. We go back to our red light, green light test. So we added in their fixed expenses, we added in those variable expenses. They are at negative 1,662. Red. Red light means stop. Don't move any more. Now we have to ask ourselves the question, is this a spending problem or is it an income problem? Since we're stopping here, we're not moving any further in our financial process. When I looked at this, I said, okay, you know if it's a spending problem when you can literally cut everything from your expenses that you no longer need. And if you're still in the red, then it's an income problem. So I went through. Everything in pink I want to cut, completely cut out. Their gym for $70 a month. Cable, internet, landline, $276 a month. It's not a necessity, get rid of it. I want to pause their $529 investment contributions for college savings for the child for $100. I want to pause that. Remember, this is temporary. Pause that. And I want to get rid of the house cleaner for $160 a month. All right, when I did that, I got it down to $11,215. Then I went through and said, okay, everything in green is a necessity. It's things we have to pay. It's the things we're going to keep. Well, when I did this, we were still on the red light. So now I know it's no longer a spending issue. We've cut everything that we can from their budget. I even went through and cut out their variable expenses. I cut out eating out altogether for $90. I I lowered, instead of a household Amazon for $150 a month, I'm giving them a miscellaneous category for $50. I even went through and cut and lowered where I could in their variable expenses. I got it down from $1,545 to $1,355. Even with cutting everything I could from my budget and my spending, we're still in red. Red light means stop. We're still halted. We're still stopped. So then we had to start looking at, okay, income. Here is my suggestion. So currently the husband makes $2,314 a month. If we assume and say the husband stays home and watches the children, we lose his income of the $2,314, but we save $3,550 from daycare, which really means though, even though we're losing his income, we're saving $1,236 just by making that one change. Husband staying home and watching the kids. But watch the trickle effect that happens. When that happens, if we go to their debt, I'm going to look at their debt now. They have some drastic debt. They have a credit card to $11,000 with a 21% balance, $42,000 on this credit card, one at 18%. These right here are high interest budget killers. These are high interest cash flow killers right here. And we're going to want to get rid of these. But if we look at their car loans, $25,000 at about 3% and $17,000 at 2.5%. If the husband stays home, we can sell a car. Which car they want to sell? If it were me, I'd get rid of the most expensive one. Most expensive in cash flow terms. This one's at $630 minimum payment every month. This one's at $490. But this has higher interest. They need to talk about which car they want to get rid of, but I'd get rid of one of these cars. All right, so we just lost a car payment. Now let's say that they get rid of car number 2, they just saved themselves another $630. Then if we look at their variable spending, that also plays into gas. We only have one partner who's truly doing the most driving. Let's say probably cut $150 from gas every single month. Now I don't know who this parking toll is to. That might also decrease as well. But here's another thing that would also decrease. Their co-op maintenance parking for their condo. Right now, are they paying for 2 parking spaces? This would probably increase as well. So when we look at the $1,236 that we're saving, as far as just looking at the husband income and the child daycare costs, it's more than that they would be saving by making other lifestyle changes because of that one change that we decided to make. So this is their debt here. They also have the mortgage, $318,000, about 5% interest. Student loans, this one is a private student loan, $70,000 at about 3% interest, $411 minimum payment. But look what's going to happen once this federal pause stops. They're going to start paying payments on $115,000 student loans for him. Where are we going to get that money right now when we're sitting in the red? We've done our red light, green light test. Now, do you remember how I showed you income minus expenses with the way that they showed me? We are negative 1662. We go from red light to green light by making the one switch of the husband staying home and cutting out the childcare costs. Their income, yes, goes down to 8594 from 10908, but their expenses drop drastically to 8117, giving us a green light positive of 477 left with it they can use towards building up an emergency savings. Which savings? Let's talk about that. Savings goals. They have nothing saved for emergencies. And she told us recently through email she just had to put a car repair on her credit card. Continuing adding to that black hole of high interest debt. Here's another thing, and I put a big sad face next to it. They are currently saving for car maintenance, vacation, and Christmas. I would say stop saving for vacation and Christmas because we can't right now with the way that our budget and income is. $400 a month they could have. But here's the thing, they put it in savings, and she said vacation and Christmas are automatically withdrawn from our husband's checks. Vacation cannot be withdrawn until May 23rd, 2023. Christmas cannot be withdrawn until November. Now, I don't know if they set their own restrictions for that, saying, hey, we can't touch this until we go on vacation in May of 2023. We can't touch Christmas until we start spending for it in November. Or if they put it into like something that's termed through their bank, savings bond, CD, something like that. Never, ever, ever put sinking funds that you need at any time in something that is locked down. Your emergency fund, sinking funds for planned holiday and events that are coming up, sinking funds for necessary expenses like property taxes, house insurance. Those things, that money should be accessed freely with no restrictions. I know a lot of people right now are talking about I-bonds. I-bonds withdrawn within 5 years of depositing that money, there's a penalty. Sure, the savings interest rate right now you're earning on I-bonds is great, but it comes down to what are you using that savings asset for, or that savings tool for. If you put money into an I-bond or something that is termed, meaning you can't access it until a certain specific time period, and you need the money before then, what happens? We end up losing all of the growth the reason why we got these savings instruments in the first place, because we got a penalty for withdrawing early. Never, ever put money that you need to access at any given time or in a short period of time locked down. That has to remain in liquid state. And what I mean by liquid state is you should be able to have cash on hand, assets liquefied, put into cash within 2 days. We set up these savings accounts for peace of mind. And there's no peace of mind if you're sitting there waiting for it to term. So I don't know if she set those restrictions for just herself, saying, hey, we're not touching these until these deadlines, or if it's actually a savings instrument that she used. But she says it's automatically withdrawn from her husband's checks, his paychecks. Makes me question that. I don't know what type of instrument that they're using for those savings. That's one thing that I do want to bring up. Lifestyle changes are needed when we have a debt picture like this. We also need to burst the bubble of we make good money, so therefore we can continue to live above our means. Harsh truths right now. A little bit of hard love. Because this is turning into something that's going to be extremely painful to get out of. We're already at that limit. $42,000 on a credit card at 18% interest. I was just telling Ryan when I was looking at this, looks like my story. I had $17,000 on a Discover on a Discover credit card with 17% interest, and to me that was one of the hardest debts I had to pay off, because in order to pay these off, for instance, let me give you an example, or let me show you what's actually happening here. This credit card number one with $42,000 worth of debt at 18% interest, just to cover the interest payment, is $640. That's just the interest. That means every time she makes a $650 payment, only $10 is going towards paying down the principal. Think about it this way. $10 payments every single month while you're battling $42,000 getting that down. It's really hard to make significant progress on a debt like this. Is it impossible? Absolutely not. I did it. But we have to look at our lifestyle and the lifestyle changes we need to make given our current income situation and what we have going on in our lives. This husband staying home, yes, is it drastic? Absolutely. Scary? Heck, yes. But this is a fairly easy lifestyle change compared to other options. And we go from red light to green light. We're able to cover our expenses and our variable expenses. And we're left with $477 at the end of the month to put towards things that are absolutely necessary at this point, like an emergency fund. So we're no longer paying off debt or wanting to pay off this debt, but yet we continue to grow it. That's the cycle of a black hole that just continues to eat you alive. We need to get out of that cycle of relying on debt when things pop up in our lives. That's why an emergency fund on a debt payoff journey is so critical and so massively important. The number one rule when paying off debt is you don't want to accumulate new debt as you pay off old debt, because then you're a hamster on a wheel, going around and around and around and around, ending up in the exact same place that you began with, even though you just ran 180,000 miles. So we need that emergency fund. This will allow us to build it. So that is my recommendation. This is T's information. And I do want to give some encouragement to T right now. What you're doing here is temporary. And it's absolutely doable. With, like, for instance, just making that one lifestyle change. It's absolutely doable. Do not get discouraged. I want you to continue on your path to financial fulfillment. Sometimes when we see this in this way, in an organized way where we can actually see the big picture and the consequences of our spending and our debt, it can get very discouraging. Like, why even bother? Why even try to increase my income or make more money? Why even bother cutting out these smaller expenses when it's just a drop in the big bucket? Because that drop has ripple effects that then trickles into other expenses and other things. But I will tell you now, we have to look at why you're in debt like this in the first place. A big thing that I see is bursting that bubble of we make good money, so therefore we can do this. We have to address the underlying reasons why you're in this debt in the first place. Sure, sometimes debt is out of our control. Sometimes we need to rely on debt because we're backed into a corner. But we do have control to say, I want to change this. And here are the steps I'm going to take to start that journey. So T, you got this. Keep plugging along. And I would love to know too, an update if this is something that you and your husband decide to do. So that is T and her husband's information. And I know it's a lot. They have a lot of debt. With my number one recommendation of dad staying at home to save on childcare costs. It seems counterintuitive, where most of the time we say we need to cut back on our expenses. We never really think about someone leaving their job and staying home to save money. This is a unique case where their childcare is extremely high. They have a kindergartner and a toddler. So that is my biggest recommendation. With him being able to stay home, they can then sell a vehicle, which also saves them on the car payment and will reduce their gas expenses. And their parking, their weird and strange, enormously high parking situation that they have at their condo where they currently live. So that's a really big lifestyle change, but it's necessary because we have to go from that red light to that green light that I showed in the video. If you do the red light, green light test and you are in the red, you have to ask yourself if it's an income problem or a spending problem. In this case, it's kind of both. We have an income problem in the fact that the husband does not make enough to cover the childcare costs alone, just the childcare costs. But we also have this where they live kind of in this bubble of telling themselves, we make good money, therefore we can spend on what we choose, even if it's outside of what we can truly afford. So one of the first steps is getting yourself in an organized way. We have these free worksheets in our free resource library if you want to use them to organize your finances so you can see the big picture, where you can see the biggest problem areas of your financial situation right now. If we wouldn't have compared their current situation, even cutting back on expenses anywhere that we could, to the husband staying home, Going from red light to green light may not have been as obvious. It may not have been possibly something that we would have considered before. So the first thing and the most important thing is doing that red light, green light test, seeing initially your starting point. I know that the starting point where you are right now might not be a number that you want to see. You may not want to see the red light test. But until you can face that reality head on, you can't address it. You can't fix it, you can't heal from it, you can't grow from it, you can't make progress from it. The only ways we do that is by first awareness and organizing your finances in a way where you can say, this is exactly where I'm starting. Here are the issues at hand. How do we move forward and fix it? If you found this video helpful, please like it and don't forget to subscribe. Welcome to the Budget Mom. Nope. Okay.